Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. I don't know why it feels like a Thursday. Maybe we should call and get it updated. Maybe today should be Wednesday. No, maybe today should be Friday. It's sort of Friday for me. I'm not going to be in studio tomorrow or Friday, so this is the fill-in Friday show. Going to be on location tomorrow for the ride launch, and hanging out with Carrie Schmidt for a bit. Yeah, we'll do some on-location stuff, but won't be doing the regular show. And then Friday, I'm just not coming in. Just what it is. I hope everyone's doing well. I am happy to bring you another episode of Ask a Traffic Cop, where oddly enough, you get to ask a traffic cop questions about traffic. I am that traffic cop. My name is Sean Shapiro. I work for the Toronto Police Service. I work at Traffic Safety Programs, which is a section of Traffic Services, which is the citywide unit for the city of Toronto. And we do everything. We do everything. If it rolls, where do I want to be? I want to be centered. If it rolls, we pretty much deal with it. There's very little that we don't deal with. We are specialists in the traffic business. Oh, yes, we are. We do enforcement. We do reconstruction, investigations of all sorts. But we're just people who like cars and motorcycles and stuff and things. It's pretty much how I ended up here. We are currently broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and the platform formerly known as Twitter, now X. I'm never going to get used to that. If you want to ask us questions and you're on any platform other than X, go ahead and do it because stuff just works. If, however, you are on X, I would invite you to go to trafficcop.ca for all the links for all of our platforms, as well as some really great useful information. But if you go to youtube.trafficcop.ca, it's a direct link to our page, to our YouTube page, where you can, of course, engage, interact, and all that stuff. Some quick hellos, because I got them coming in. We got greetings and salutations. Akela had warned me yesterday on the phone that he was going to have a meeting, but alas, he is here. Or was that yesterday? I'm confusing my days. We actually spoke yesterday before the show started. But I'm glad you're here. Long story short, glad you're here. What do we got here? He says, Akela says, my wife wants me to mention a stunt driving incident from CP24 ticker, Brampton man charged for doing 186 in a 60 zone. You know what? There is, regardless of where this person was or was from, that is so ridiculously unacceptable. But to me, that's not stunt driving. That's criminal dangerous driving, and I would have arrested him for that. That's me personally just saying. There's no way I would. Wow. Let's see here. Oh, a good thing to know, and I appreciate the PSA. I did see it from my friends over at Dave's Corner Garage. There is going to be an alert-ready system around 1 p.m. That's where all cell phones are going to basically go off. Like the Amber Alerts, those cell phone ding-dong noisemakers. Everyone's will go off, which means my watch will go off and my phones will go off. And I have two phones, so it's going to be noisy in here, but I will not be on the air at that time, so I'll be okay. We've got Tim Shallow who says, good morning, Sean. Lucas says, good morning. How is your morning? My morning has been great. Started off bright and early. We got here at 5:30. I had breakfast television at 6 o'clock, and we went for a little ride along at 7 o'clock. They did a clip again at 8 o'clock. Even at 5 o'clock, breakfast television and CP24 are going to do another segment. So we're going to be really busy in the news cycle today. Toronto Star was calling about stuff and things. They want to know about stuff and things, which is usually what the media does. They call to find out about stuff and things, and they write about stuff and things. Let's see here. Adam Brandon says, the beard's looking good. Thank you much. Yeah, it's beard season for me. I was goatee for like a year, if not longer, but I am definitely in beard mode. Michael says, greetings from this morning. Sent one last night as well. Oh, did I miss that? Was it a missed message earlier? I don't know. Maybe, possibly, could be. Let's see here. But either way, greetings to Michael. Tom, wow, long time no see. No kidding. Where are you these days? Tom, used to be local, and I understood you were moving out of the area, but I was thinking of you last week, so I'm glad that you reached out. We'll have to catch up. Let me know when you're around. Sean Chen says, good morning. Good morning to you, sir. We've got a quote of the day, which I will save for later. I'll just tag that right there. And, okay. Oh. Did I even notice that it was 1,300 hours, which is 1 o'clock? I don't know what was said earlier, but thanks, Michael, for mentioning that again. Logan McLean says, hey, And then we've got Eric Plume who says, good morning. Let's see here. Oh, want some. So we got some questions we'll get to after the hellos. We got Tyler who says hello and Zombie. And again, I forgot to use your, I'm sorry, my life has been busy lately and I'm neglecting you, Zombie. But Zombie made an animated intro for the show, which I keep saying I'm going to use and have yet to use, and I feel bad about it. And I only, every time I see your name, I feel guilty. Okay, let's see here. We got a question about this. Good morning from St. John's, Newfoundland, from The Rock. How's it going, Jerome? I love that we are an interprovincial and often international show, but I've not heard from anyone from The Rock recently, although I was talking about a friend of mine from there recently. I've yet to go. I've got to make my way out there one day. Okay, what's happening here? Questions? All right. Leamington, Tyler's from Leamington, right on. And, okay. We got questions from, or a statement from the Canadian show, a friend who says, looked like you and Joseph ate some great food. I loved that video. We had so much fun doing it. If you haven't seen the video that we're talking about, you can see it on the VoiceOver Cop Instagram page. You can actually see where Joseph and I went out for a bite to eat and enjoyed all you can eat. We did enjoy all of it. Okay, I've got to talk about Vision Zero Enforcement Team before we get in, because we've had a lot of hellos, which is awesome. I love the hellos. So Vision Zero Enforcement Team, what do? Well, they focus on changing driver behavior one ticket at a time. They do that by focusing on speeding, aggressive driving. They look for distracted driving. They look for impaired driving. And they are very busy. Sadly, there are a lot of people who break the law. A lot of people who put lives at risk because of the behavior they choose to engage in. And many people make excuses for it, but there are no excuses. Speeding kills. Speeding is dangerous. Driving aggressively, well, that's dangerous. And oddly enough, you combine these things very often into a tragic result. Distracted driving, although there's different types of distracted driving. Let's break it down. There's distracted driving when it comes to using your cell phone entertainment device or having a screen visible to a driver, and that's what applies to the law, specific charge. But just being lost in thought, not being focused on the task of driving safely, is also a form of distracted driving, although the charge wouldn't be appropriate. We would lay charges of careless driving. Funny fact, we talked about it a couple days ago, maybe it was yesterday. Distracted driving charges were originally introduced at $125. No points. I don't think there were points. And it was a lesser offense than careless driving, which would also be appropriate. Over the years, since people can't seem to control themselves, that lesser ticket has obviously morphed and now is a greater charge than that of careless. Careless has a big ticket price and has a lot of points involved. But the distracted driving charge is $615, comes with a 3-day suspension and three demerit points on conviction for a first offense. It goes up to 7 days and 7 demerit points, I believe. Yeah, it's expensive, but careless driving is still appropriate. And the two could be laid in conjunction depending on the observations made by an officer. Just saying. So before I keep going on, because I've gone down this rabbit hole about stuff and things, I kind of do that on occasion. Today is the 15th of November. Yep, that's what it says. Watch has confirmed it. And the officers in the Division Zero Enforcement Team, dedicated as they are in 11 Division and 33 Division. Those are the neighborhoods of Junction, Weston, High Park, Ronsonsvales. We got Parkwoods, Donalda, Bayview Village, York Mills, neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. And we announce where they're going to be every day. We do that because we want those communities to know that we're out there looking out for them. You'd want to know when we were in your neighborhood to protect you too. Now, this is not to say that we are not anywhere else. The divisional officers in every division across the city are working to keep their communities safe, but these are officers going to add extra person power. Is that a thing? I think it is. They're out there augmenting the work being done by those divisions, and the result is good work. Over 200,000 tickets issued in the city of Toronto this year for various charges. Many of them are cell phones, aggressive driving, and speeding, oddly enough. Speeding being the number one. Okay. A little later on the show, we're going to talk about recruiting, because I talk about it every single day, because it's important. And there are many people who have questions about it. So let's get into some questions that JD has prepared for me, because I rarely get a chance to look in the actual chat. But JD goes through it. So if you've got a question, please put a cue before it so they know it's a question and not just dialogue amongst viewers. Can you clarify the rules around the yellow lines? Let's see here. Yellow lined oncoming traffic turn lanes, left turn lanes. I'm not entirely sure what we're talking about. I know what you've said, but I want to make sure I got the right question. So do you mean a center lane, a third lane that is multi-use and can be used for turning left or turning right? If that's what you're talking about, then the rules are you would use that to make a left or right, but not to pass traffic, a kilometer away. We were talking about this yesterday with Sergeant Campbell, and the scenario is we've got a tractor, a farm tractor, and the farm tractor is blocking the lane, doing significantly below the speed limit. Could you use that center lane to pass them? Well, I think it would be reasonable to do it for a short distance, but when it's stopped traffic and people decide to drive for a kilometer to pass traffic, not reasonable, and there is a charge applicable to that. But if you're talking about simply crossing a yellow line, the yellow line means that the traffic on the other side of it is going the other direction. And if it's a multi-lane, it's because the traffic in using that multi-lane could be going the other direction. I think we've covered it. If there's more you're looking for, please let me know, because I'd love to give you the answer you're looking for, even if it's not the answer you want, if you know what I mean. CJ McNeil, when converting a cargo van to a camper van, can I remove the passenger seat and airbag? You need to talk to I think it's a Red Seal mechanic to have that done. You can't do it. It's against the law for you to remove one. Certain people can remove them. And if you're truly changing the configuration of that van, no passenger is going to be there, obviously you wouldn't need an airbag in that location, but I would talk to the appropriate mechanic. It has to be done properly to avoid issues, not just because they can explode, but because there's rules, and those rules go beyond what we're talking about. Truly converting vehicles is outside of my area of knowledge. So talk to a mechanic of that rank. I think Red Seal is the deal. Red Seal's the deal? Yeah. Lackvier says, I made a rule for myself not to go 20 kilometers over any time the speed limit. You think it's good enough? Like you're saying you're limiting yourself to only speeding, only breaking the law by 20 kilometers? That's, in most cases, 20% over the posted speed limit. If it's a 40, that's 50% over. No, that's not okay. You should not be exceeding the posted speed limit at all. Although I appreciate that you made a rule and you're trying to govern your law-breaking activity, but you're not allowed to speed. It's not lawful. So I would try and make a rule where you don't speed at all, which is what I do. I set it and forget it. I use cruise control on all major highways, and I don't go above the speed limit. In fact, I've thought about putting a sign on the back of my vehicle saying, I don't speed. If you don't like it, pass me. And I think it's both an invitation for them to pass and get caught, hopefully by someone doing radar in the areas where I drive. But it's just that I'm not going to be bullied by anyone. People who go too close to the back of my vehicle find that I will actually slow down gradually. But I'm not going to speed up. Okay. Eric Plume wants to know, how fast can you go on local streets without a sign posted? It depends on what area you're in. There are areas in the city of Toronto where as you enter an area, it says 30. It has a bar on the bottom that says area, which means all of the unsigned streets within that area until you see ending or exit are all 30 kilometers an hour. Generally speaking, an unsigned area is 50, but you really have to know where you are. Paying attention to street signs is important. That's the deal. Most places it's 50. Very often we've been reducing those to 40 and 30. We talked about this already. Okay. Oh, interesting question. Do all traffic lights have cameras? Are cameras very small and attached, or are they on the floor? If you're talking about red light cameras, no, they're not on every camera. I wish they were. Every light. I wish they were at every intersection. The ones that are red light cameras are actually not affixed to the traffic light system, at least not in Ontario, at least not that I'm aware of, because in Europe, they're all over the place. They're way up in the sky. There's all sorts of great stuff in being used, and they have speed cameras that are also that way. The ones that we have for speed are movable. The ones for red light are not. So that's a thing. They're generally posts, and there's usually a camera post and a flash post, two separate posts. Yeah. What else can I tell you about those? It's not managed by the police. It's managed by the city or municipality that you're in. Interesting stuff. Okay. Patricia wants to know, can a Canadian licensed driver drive in the USA? Can a Canadian licensed driver drive a US? I'm just based on the way you've ended that with a flag, do you mean like can you drive into the United States? Yes. Can you drive your motor vehicle that's insured and safe for the road into the States? Yes. Can you drive an American car in Canada? No. So if somebody comes from the United States into Canada and, let's say, lends you their car, that would not be lawful. And we can get more into that. It's an interesting kind of thing we can talk about. If there's interest to know more about that, we will. What do we got here? We got, but hopefully that answers your question, Patricia. If there's something else you want to know and I didn't hit what you were looking for, ask it a different way. Can you drive with Crocs on, or is it illegal? I've never been asked this before. So Crocs or other footwear, is there a footwear requirement? Well, we certainly make suggestions against having certain footwear. Anything that is bulky or prevents you from making good contact or differentiating between your pedals, maybe not a good idea. But Crocs are not something that I have too much concern about. Backstrap is good to make sure it stays on your foot. But other than that, it's not illegal to wear flip-flops. It's not illegal to be barefoot. But again, we suggest having appropriate footwear just because there are better options. Can I drive with the windshield down on my Jeep? We actually talked about this a little while ago, and I was unsure of it. And the discussion that I've had with officers in other offices in this building is that if you put the windshield down, it's for off-road only. If you're on the road, you must have a windshield. That's what I've been told. Now, have I gone through the deep dive to confirm that with the HTA? I have not, but I'm planning to. So it's my understanding that it's illegal and that your vehicle is unsafe for the road in that configuration. Off-road only, but I don't know why you'd want to flip it down, honestly. It looks cool, and then it's not. Catch bugs with your teeth. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. We have... okay, it was Patricia asked it again. Can I drive a USA licensed car in Canada? So that was funny. Oddly enough, that was where we were going. So here's a story, a quick story time. I investigated a collision a number of years ago. I think it was 2014. And the driver of a BMW with Florida plates was involved in a collision. The driver was Canadian with an Ontario driver's license. That person had a note from their daughter who lived in the States saying that this car was eligible to be driven in Canada by their dad and notarized. Well, that triggered an investigation. You see, you can't do that. A vehicle that is being used in Ontario has not only a limit as to how long it can stay in the province and in the country, it's 6 months less a day by the person who is licensed to use it with an American license. See, that vehicle was seized by the RCMP. It was held and based on the tax laws. Importation duties and taxes were required. I believe the fine was somewhere in the vicinity of $30,000, and the vehicle had to be shipped to the border. If they wanted to keep it, they had to pay the duties and taxes, but the fine alone, I think, was about $30,000. It was an expensive car, but long story short, you can't drive American cars as a Canadian driver in Canada. The only exemption or exception would be when you rent a U-Haul. I think that's going to be it. Yeah, interesting stuff. Now, everything's a case-by-case basis, but based on the fact that we called for the authority to seize it on behalf of the RCMP, which we did, it was a bad day at the office for them. So again, in fact, I asked the staff sergeant on the phone when I spoke to him and said, well, what if somebody is visiting me from the States and their car's behind me? Can I go to the store for milk? He said, although that would be explainable, technically not allowed. New stuff to learn every day. Okay, what if you are driving and your license is at home? So you're driving, but you forgot your license and your wallet and all that jazz. Well, you've technically broken the law if you fail to surrender your license upon demand of a police officer. See, if I pull you over, I'm going to make a demand, and you have the responsibility to surrender it immediately. So by driving without your license in your pocket, you would get a ticket for $110 for failing to surrender your license. If that you also failed to surrender your ownership, it would be another $110. If you failed to surrender proof of insurance, it would be another $65. Yes, I know. Lots of tickets. What do we got here? Part 1. Oh. Monica Gray says, Part 1. My boyfriend got charged by theft or for theft under $5,000 by his mother. He's not allowed to talk to her without getting charged, but she won't stop texting him. Can she get in trouble? That is an interesting conundrum. So if he can't talk to her without getting charged, he has to follow his rules. If she won't stop texting him and is communicating with him, I can see potentials, but I would talk to the detective involved in the case to truly, because I understand what you're saying, but I wonder if that's the actual wording of what the conditions are. If there's a no contact condition and she's not under it, I don't know if she's violating anything or not. Certainly, it's not a good thing, and it may be inducing them to breach their release if that's what they're on with those conditions. Anyway, I would talk to the OIC of the case. We talked about this. Did you ever watch Commercial Vehicle Lane? That's from Wealth Mindset. What do you mean? Do you mean like, do I ever focus on commercial vehicle lanes or a TV show called Commercial? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, do we ever look for commercial vehicles in a technically you're not supposed to be in the left lane, or according to the HTA, Sergeant Campbell found that the first 2 lanes, lane 1 and lane 2 on 400 series highways should not be occupied by commercial motor vehicles, which is pretty, that's a very wide berth. Bus lane with HOV sign. Can I drive a car on it with 2 or more passenger? It is important to, there is a big difference between a bus lane and an HOV lane. They are not the same thing. There are diamond lanes that designated as a bus lane, and those you cannot drive in. They're bus lanes and bus lanes only. If they are truly HOV lanes, then you can be in an HOV lane with 2 or more people. So if you're on a 400 series highway, that is a true HOV lane. If you are on a diamond lane on the Don Valley Parkway or on the Fred Gardner Expressway or on city routes in the city of Toronto, those are actually not HOV lanes. Those are multi-use lanes, and they are designated by signs. The signs denote what you can do in them. Some of them say you can have motorcycles. Some of them say you can have multiple passengers. Often they require 3 passengers, not 2. So you need to follow the sign's direction. Yes. J Kiss not on TikTok. Are you on duty for this live? I am, in fact, on duty for this live. I'm a police officer who works as a media relations officer and traffic educator. So this is part of my duty, and I do this daily from 10 to 11, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, sometimes not at all, because I have a multitude of duties, and this is just one of them. Although it's one of my favorite ones, it is not the only thing that I do. So, yes, I am on duty when I do this, although I often am answering questions while I'm off duty, just because I like y'all so much. Not everybody agrees. My family doesn't like when I'm busy texting answers on the couch. They kind of think I'm off duty and should just put the phone down. Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm just dragged into it. Good questions that come up. Your thoughts on drivers who flash others warning there's police officer ahead? Well, if they're really just worried about the safety and security of the police officer who's up ahead because they're working on the road or they're investigating something, well, that's really kind of them. But that's usually not what's happening. Usually it's trying to tell people that we're out there doing enforcement and they want them to change their behavior so they don't get caught for breaking the law. For those people, I'm not impressed, because what they're doing is they're warning lawbreakers, violators, to change their behavior temporarily to avoid detection and taking responsibility for their actions. So what they tend to do, the people who see the flashes, is slow down, pass the police, and speed up again. What that person has, I'm sure with all the best of intentions, trying to be a good neighbor, avoided that person from getting caught for speeding. Usually that's the offense. And then they continue speeding later, which puts lives at risk. So you're actually promoting unsafe driving. So that's my thought. If you are flashing someone to tell them that there's a radar trap, you are contributing to unsafe roads. And you could indirectly be responsible for taking a life. Because if that person goes on to hurt somebody because you didn't get them caught, didn't allow the chain of effects by getting them a ticket and having points and all the things that come with it that might have changed their driving behavior, well, you've contributed to an unsafe road. So I don't think much of that, at least nothing positive. I have actually a lot of thoughts on that. Just none of them are happy thoughts. Okay. Do we need a front license plate if we're moving from Saskatchewan where we only have rear? So if you're moving to Ontario from Saskatchewan, within 60 days, you've got to license that vehicle. No, within 30 days, you've got to license that vehicle in Ontario. And then, yes, you will require 2 license plates. From the time that you move here, the clock starts. 30 days for the vehicle. And am I mixing it? It's 60 days for your license and 30 days for your vehicle. Yeah. 60 days for your license, 30 days for your vehicle. It's the 2 numbers, and I transpose them on occasion. But that's the deal. So if you move here, yeah, you need to have 2 plates. While you're here and you have not applied for an Ontario permit yet, during that time, no, you don't. What are the fines for a modified exhaust? Well, it depends on what the modifications are. If the modification is that of one that makes it illegal, it is either it's a catback, but it has no muffler, it has no, what's it called? Resonator. Well, obviously that's not a legal exhaust system. And you would have a no muffler charge. You would also have what would it be? Unnecessary noise charge, likely. Yeah, that would be a few $100s in fines. If it is simply a modification that now has it louder than it was, and that loudness qualifies, according to the officer, for unnecessary noise, well, then you'd be looking at $110 for that. You need to have a muffler. You need to have a resonator. Could you have a more free breathing system installed? Sure, but it must be compliant. It can't be obnoxiously loud like the Charger. What was that behind? It was a Dodge Charger, I think it was last night. I was traveling north on the Don Mills, and there was this beepity beep beep who was squealing his tires, so that would have been a good stunt driving charge, and just driving like a clown. Yeah, beepity beep beep. They had a loud exhaust. Do red light cameras reset at midnight? I've seen them flashed at 12 a.m. on the dot. No one's around. I have no idea. If that's something that it does, it's news to me. Amanda, we don't manage them as the police. They're a city thing. But I would like to know the answer now that you've asked it. So when I speak to the folks in that unit, which is a city unit, I will be sure to ask that because now I want to know. How do the speed cameras, what is this? How do those speed cameras used above posts work? Oh, what is the functional trigger? If you're speeding, they take your picture, someone reviews those pictures, and then issues you a ticket based on the evidence that is provided to them. So they're not completely automatic. They do record the information automatically. But when it comes to, there's a real person reviewing and issuing tickets based on that information. But if you don't want to get one, don't speed. Simple as that. Okay. Question from Promo Guy. Hey, Promo Guy. If e-scooter hit me, not my fault, can I claim it on insurance in case of drugs? I need to know more. Were you in a motor vehicle when it hit you? Did it? Oh, damages. I totally misread that. Thank you, JD, for pointing out my. Yeah. You know those things where you read and you see the first letter and the last letter and you just assume that the center? That's what I was doing there. So if you're in a motor vehicle when you were struck and there was damages, your insurance would cover it. Unfortunately, e-scooters don't have insurance. Even if they are, very often, well, you can't insure them because if they're over 24 kilometers an hour, making them illegal, they become motor vehicles that are unsafe and not lawful for the road. But people generally don't have insurance on those too. You could sue the person individually, on their own, if they were good enough to stick around and actually share information as they would be required to by law. But yeah, if that would be a civil matter. But if you're a motor vehicle, you could claim it on your personal vehicle insurance. If you had home insurance and you were injured, I don't know if you could claim that personally or not. Possibly, maybe. It's pretty sad that we have to now worry about the damages that others cause for driving vehicles around that are uninsured, but in some areas lawful. You have a pet peeve. Okay. Yvonne wants to know if someone intentionally comes to Canada after 3 months, they need to retake their license here in Ontario to drive legally here, correct? Internationally, not intentionally. If someone internationally comes to Canada after 3 months, they need to retake their license here in Ontario. Not necessarily. So if you are coming from a country that has an agreement with Canada, or specifically Ontario, many places allow you to exchange your driver's license for another. If you are someone who has moved here, then yes, after 3 months, you are required to, 60 days, you are required to apply. If you're a resident now, you've moved here, you need to apply for an Ontario license. If there is no exchange system, like if you're coming from the UK, you would just give us your license or give the administrator your license, you'd get an Ontario license, straight trade. United States, straight trade. China, I believe it's a straight trade. But many places are not going to get that trade opportunity. You might get an accelerated version where you can do your tests without waiting because you have experience. But very often you have to start with a G1 and start all over again. So it took me a couple seconds to decode everything that I was thinking and saying and doing. But yes, it depends. But 3 months, I believe it's going to be, if you're visiting, you can stay longer using your license. But if you're a resident, it's 60 days. And many people have been driving with international permits, and they're not licensed at all. Once you're a resident, you have different rules. And once you apply for a G1, you don't have an international license anymore. Your license from your foreign or origination country where you're licensed does not apply. You would be charged as though you were a G1 driver. I think I've conveyed all the information in my noggin there, but yeah, if you need me to go over that again, feel free to reach out. Okay. Saeed Shah has a question. Why doesn't the city increase the highway speed from 100 to 120? Well, first of all, the cities don't determine the provincial highway speed. That is the province that determines that. 100 is the speed limit, and there's no need to go faster. Although people choose to go faster, and they're breaking the law when they do it, faster is not better. Faster is definitely not better. Some areas have been determined that they are, in fact, safe at 110, and in those areas, they have raised them. They did a pilot project and then permanently raised those areas to 110 kilometers an hour. Now, what's the point of my story? The city, however, like the Don Valley Parkway and the FGX, are actually city highways or expressways or controlled access routes. Those are 90 kilometers an hour, not 100, and they're certainly have no intention of raising those speeds. They are I would go slower everywhere. Can you drive a mobility scooter on the road? Yeah, it really depends. Is there no other place to go? Because you're pretty much a pedestrian. You should not be on the road. You should not be taking up a lane of traffic or being, you shouldn't be in a bicycle lane. No, a mobility scooter is a place where pedestrians go. So mobility scooters should be on the sidewalk. Mobility scooters can take you into buildings, not on the road. That's not what they're meant for. They don't do the same speeds as e-bikes, and if they do, they're probably not mobility scooters. And they're being branded as such, and they're not. But let me know more about what you're talking about. Really, like mobility scooters could be similar to wheelchairs, not wheelchairs, but similar to wheelchairs in their use. And again, where a pedestrian goes is where the mobility scooter should go. Okay, a question about, is it okay 5 kilometers over, I get tailgated when I do 50 and a 50? Laura, no. Legally, no. You're not legally allowed to go over. And if you get tailgated, what I do when I get tailgated is I slow down. So 50, someone decides to get too close to me, I just let off the gas and I do 45. And the closer they are, it's their problem. You're not slamming on the brakes. That would be wrong. That would be unsafe and could, result in you getting charged for something if you do what is commonly referred to as a brake check. But gradually slowing down gives people an indication that you're not going to be bullied, and if they need to pass you, they can. Okay. Since we're just past the halfway point, I think it's an opportunity to reintroduce myself. So I will. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day, except the next 2 days when I won't be here. Okay, I will be talking about traffic safety. I just won't be doing the live stream as we're doing it today. That will return on Monday, I believe. Tomorrow I'll be on scene, on location for the ride launch. We're talking about ride season. Now, truthfully, ride season is every season. We do ride checks and conduct enforcement and the hunt for impaired drivers all the time. It's not just ride season. But the holidays are upon us, and we tend to talk about it more now. In fact, we tend to have them in a much more visible way during the holiday season. This is a higher propensity of people to go out and celebrate, maybe tie one on. The only thing you should be tying on this holiday season is a red ribbon from Matt to oh, there we go. It's upside down. Is to talk about that commitment about not driving while impaired. So yeah, that's what I'll be tomorrow. I'll do some stuff and things online, but I won't be going live. And Friday we won't be live. But you should be following us. So if you don't already follow us, please do. We'd love to have you as part of the fam. If you are, who's calling me? I'll have to call them back. They want to call me, but I can't answer. Yeah, if you don't already follow us, please do. You can also get us by going to trafficcop.ca, which takes you to all of our platforms, so you can stay in touch. Yeah. What happens if I get caught driving a dirt bike on the road to bring it to the track? Well, you're driving a motor vehicle that has no insurance, that is not lawful for the road. So you'd be looking at tickets for drive no insurance, $5,000 to $25,000 fine, up to 6 months in jail, as well as unsafe motor vehicle and a myriad of charges that you would likely not like. So that's what would happen. You know what you do to take it to the track? Walk it legally, or put it on a trailer and have someone drive you. I'm assuming you don't have a car or a trailer if you would even consider driving an illegal vehicle on the road without insurance. But we're talking about lawful here. Are motorcycles allowed to use paved shoulders to pass traffic? Absolutely not. That would be against the law. It would be against many laws, in fact. It would be drive off roadway, drive on shoulder is off roadway, and may also be, well, stunt driving, careless driving, stunt driving, we said that already, could be dangerous, which is criminal dangerous. It really depends on what the officer sees, but it is by no means legal. Oh. How much over the speed limit will a police officer look to stop you? 15 to 20? Depends. When I was doing radar on in 60 zones, my goal was 15 kilometers an hour for charges, and less than 15 was a conversation. So I would pull you over, give you a warning. If you were under 15, if you were over 15, I would give you a charge. And then everything else was, but you're not allowed to speed. I don't know if this is not clear somewhere, but speeding is illegal. You can't actually do it legally, which is why it's against the law. We write you tickets, makes your insurance go up, gives you points very often. Those points work to take your license away. If you're choosing to speed, you're part of the problem. I know. I'm a big meanie for saying it. Let's see here. What if you have a photo of your license plate? Of your license plate? It was changed. License, which makes a lot more sense. Like, why would anyone take pictures of your license plate? If you have if you're driving around and you don't have your driver's license on you, is a photo sufficient? No. If you were to show me a photo of your license, I would thank you, and then I would write you a ticket, because the law requires you to surrender your actual license for a reasonable inspection by a police officer. And there's a follow-up question of, can you have your licenses in your phones? So the answer is no. Now, will it happen in the future? Sure. When the law changes, that will become an acceptable practice. That is not where we are today. Yeah, you got to have the actual card. If you are from a state or country that issues them by telephone or by app, we would accept it if it's acceptable in your jurisdiction. So really what I'm saying is, if you have an Ontario license and you take a photo of it, you're getting a ticket. What's the law on cracked windshields? They're unsafe. You can't have them. They obstruct the driver's view, and they're just unsafe. You can't have them. Fix them before they become a problem. A chip is one thing, a minor crack, but if we're talking about a spider web thing, you can't see through that. So it really depends on where it is. Are we fixated on pulling everybody over who has a tiny crack? No, but it does become a problem, and it's just not safe. Oh, okay, here we go. Can I black out the side and rear windows to a school bus? I'm converting it to an RV. Second person today who's converting a thing into another thing. Yes, you can. There's no law saying that you have to have windows that you can see through on a vehicle. In terms of the ones left and right of the driver and the windshield, well, obviously those have to be ones that are regulated. They have to be able to see out of them. We have to be able to see into them. But the ones behind in the cargo area, you could board that up. It could be completely opaque. The only requirement is that you must have a clear view to the rear. Yes. Question from Jenny. Hi there, just one question. If I'm going 109 on the highway at a steady speed, can I get a ticket? Can you? Yes. At 101, you're technically speeding because anything over the posted speed limit is unlawful. Are we going to stop you for 101, 102, 103? Unlikely. Is it illegal? Yes. And could you get a ticket? Yes. And if you went to the court and said, but I was only going 109, would that be a defense? No. You would be convicted based on the fact that you've admitted to speeding, which is any speed over the posted speed limit. But a lot of people ask about that. Can I remove seats from a vehicle? Like the back seats, because you don't use them, and you're making the car lighter because you take it to the track. Removing seats is okay. You cannot remove the seat belt system. That would be against the law technically. And yeah, why are you taking seats out? Obviously, you can't transport people without seats. That's pretty important. Can I smoke when I'm driving? Really depends on what you're smoking. Can you smoke tobacco or lawful substances? Yes, assuming there's nobody under the age of 16 in the motor vehicle, which makes it or would make it illegal. Nor can you smoke in a company vehicle because in your workplace, it is illegal under the Smoke-Free Ontario Act to smoke in a motor vehicle or in a workplace, which in some cases is a motor vehicle. Let's see here. If we just going to take a pause for a second because I haven't talked about employment and I want to talk about employment. If you are interested in an amazing career, in a profession related to serving your community, not specifically being a police officer, because not everybody wants to be a police officer. You know, it was just me with a childhood dream, but not everybody wants to do that. There are other opportunities. I'm here to tell you there are other opportunities within the police service that are still about making a difference. Go to www.tps.ca/careers where you can explore those opportunities. Obviously, we are hiring police officers. There is a big push North America wide, if not the world, to find people who want to put on a uniform and serve their community. And it is a special person who does that. And I say that not just because I am one and I'm special. No. Anyway, there's a joke there that I'm not going to go with. But the fact is that whether you're a parking enforcement officer, special constable, auxiliary officer is a volunteer position, you're serving your community. And it takes someone that with a certain personality to do that. If you're one of those people, go sign up because we're looking for you. If you are interested in, serving your community, but you're not interested in putting a uniform on, you can consider communications operator, which is a phenomenal and important role. They're the people who take your 911 calls and dispatch police officers to go help people. We couldn't do what we do without them. And if I haven't recently thanked them for their service, I really must because they're awesome. And what we do is only possible because they do what they do. If that's a job that you'd be interested in, read more here. Civilian roles. This one I love going to, and it's like pulling the one-armed bandit thing. That's roll of the dice here. Are there going to be more than two? Nope, still just two. Senior systems analyst and communication operators are the two civilian jobs currently listed. These positions don't stay on forever. This one opens on the 14th and closes on the 27th. This one is a significant pay scale too. Nearly 111 to just over $129,000. All the responsibilities and requirements are here. If this sounds like something you'd want to do, check it out. Go apply before the posting comes down because it will not be there forever. Yes. Oh. Do international students have to change over to a Canadian license? Technically not permanent. It is not about being permanent. It is about being a resident. And while you are a resident in the province of Ontario, you must, if staying here more than the 30 days, get an Ontario license. If you are in Quebec, they have a different set of rules. If you're a student in Quebec, you maintain your license from the international source that you started in. Different rules for different provinces. Know before you go. You can get more information by going to trafficcop.ca, go down to useful links, and there is a link there about newcomers to Canada, driving in Canada. That's where you want to get it. But if you're in Ontario, you got to get a license. Elsewhere, it could be different rules. Let's see here. Can a South African, let's see here. Can I drive a South African vehicle with right-hand steering in the U.S.? Boy, we've gone all over the place. We're in Canada, just so you know. I'm positive that you can do that in the States, but I don't know the rules around it specifically. I know that they exist there. In Canada, if it is more than 15 years old, you can, in fact, import it. And there are right-hand vehicles in use here. Now, I can speak again about here in Ontario. If you have a vehicle that is right-hand drive and does not have functioning signals, you must have a placard out the back that says right-hand drive, and the odd and unique and fancy or weird, whatever it is, reason for that is because you must use hand signals, and the drivers of other vehicles will be looking for the left-hand side of your vehicle for your arm out the window, and if you are in a right-hand drive car, that's where you'll be signaling from. Anyway, I thought that was neat. I might be the only one. Okay. Provided the phone is in a holder, am I answering hands-free? Can I legally answer a video call? The answer is no. Video calls are not permitted. That would constitute having your camera and screen on, other than to see the lock screen, the telephone screen, or the, what is it called? GPS screen. So video screen, having a screen visible to driver is unlawful. It would be distracted driving, and that would result in a $615 ticket with a 3-day suspension and 3 demerit points on first conviction. There you go. Can you? So this is a Tom question. Can you cut through parking lots to skip a red light? Depends. Obviously, it's not a good practice. If you are going to cross a sidewalk or enter a roadway in Ontario, you must come to a stop. So you're not preventing much, and you could be ticketed for not stopping when, in that situation. You could also be trespassing. I've seen situations where gas stations post signs that say no trespassing. Obviously, that's to combat people cutting through. Is it safe? Is it a good idea? No. Is it specifically illegal? Well, let's say you were pulling into a gas station to get gas, and then you saw the price and you changed your mind. Is that against the law? No. So it really depends. But be safe if you're doing it, because you're going to be responsible for everything that happens. What is the difference of being a cadet and a recruit constable? Well, we are cadets. Okay, so a recruit constable is considered a cadet in training. And if maybe some services had different titles for different things. There used to be a cadet program in the city of Toronto with the Toronto Police, and some services have brought back cadet programs. That is a different paid program where you are you're applying for a job as a cadet. You do different jobs while you are a cadet, and then you can apply for police constable. When you are hired as a police constable in Toronto at the moment, you're a cadet in training, and that's your so that's a recruit constable. So a true cadet program would be a paid role where you work and for up to a year or 2 years, and then you have the option of applying to become a police constable. Whereas we don't have a cadet program in Toronto right now, so recruit constable is it. I think I covered that. All right. I don't think anyone's really asked me. No one's ever asked that question before. It's a good question. Let's see here. We got 8 minutes to go. Then no new questions will be covered, and then we'll be back Monday. Yeah. Let's see here. We've got a question from. Oh, here we go. Can someone that lost their license for driving while under the influence in Canada operate an e-bike? In the U.S., it's a gray area. So according to the Criminal Code of Canada, an e-bike is a motor vehicle. And if you are prohibited from driving a motor vehicle, that's a problem. Yeah, a lot of people may do it. But technically, e-bike is a motor vehicle according to the Criminal Code of Canada. And if you have that prohibition, that would be a problem. I don't think it's so gray here. I think it's very clear. So I would say you're technically not permitted to. And that prohibition could get you serious charges. Okay. If a red light camera is legal in court, why are school bus red light cameras not? Kathy wants to know. Well, actually, they are. The laws have just been changed in Ontario to accommodate a new charge that is a school bus red light camera. And some jurisdictions are rolling that out. Not all jurisdictions obviously have that. I don't believe we have it in Toronto, but I really look forward to it because it's a major problem. People don't seem to care or pay attention when our most valuable and precious commodities, our children, commodity is the wrong word, cargo, that's a better word. We got to protect kids. So anything we do to do that, I think, is positive. And it would be legal because the law that is being used to issue them would be the same as red light camera and so on. But it just hasn't come here yet. What is this? What about those wheelies, I think you mean? People stand on them. No. You're talking about electric unicycles. Electric unicycles are absolutely prohibited. They are not legal for use on the road, on the sidewalk, on a park. Private property only for those. They are ridiculously unsafe. And what we would charge you for is operating an unsafe motor vehicle without insurance and every other charge related to it. No license, no permit. Don't do that. Don't use those. I see them on the road all the time. There's just a matter of time until that person gets hurt or gets charged. But so many of them on the road, and none of them are legal. Segways aren't legal for the road. I mean, there's a ton of different things. And then modified e-kick scooters and e-bikes aren't legal for the road. And all of them are motor vehicles. Yeah. If a red light camera is legal in court, we talked about that. Can you get a ticket for dirty windshield? Yes, because if your windshield is dirty, it is obstructed. And if it is obstructed, it is illegal. Charges for shooting fireworks out of car. Oh my goodness. I don't know what the charge I would go with is, but I did see the video of that. Ridiculous. Mischief might be one of them. I mean, I'd probably go criminal. I just don't know what charge I would lay. It's not something that would be specifically outlined in the Highway Traffic Act. Bonehead moves like that don't usually make it to the law. It's usually covered under things like mischief. Dangerous driving? Maybe. That's also criminal, maybe. Okay. What happens if I got pulled over and I have everything but insurance? Depends what you mean. Do you mean you don't have your insurance document? If you don't have the insurance document, you get a $65 ticket. If you don't have insurance, actually the vehicle is not insured. Whoa, Nelly. That's $5,000 to $25,000 fine, up to 6 months in jail. Yeah, you wouldn't get a charge for not having a license. You wouldn't get a charge for not having a license plate. Because you have everything else, as you said. You said the vehicle's safe. If insurance is not on the vehicle, that is a big one, and that is the big one, I think. And we'd absolutely lay it, and then you would not be able to drive that vehicle, or you get charged again. You'd have to get a tow. Yeah, that's the story. Okay, I think we've covered everything. I think we're ahead of the game. I'm going to take a peek and see if anything's cooking here. I think that's a reasonable question to jump on. Can insurance companies force you to use snow tires? I currently use AT on my pickup. I don't know what AT, all-terrain. No, they can't force you in Ontario because there's no law in Ontario that says you must have snow tires. So legally it wouldn't be forced. Could they have a condition of being their customer, saying that if you don't have snow tires, we won't insure you? It's a private company. They can do whatever they want in that regard. They could deny you or cancel your insurance. Sure, technically. Most companies go the other way. They give you a discount for snow tires. I like discounts. Let's see here. We'll call this last question. We'll go into dad jokes. If I get pulled over in a rental, what do I give them? You give them everything. You have the package. You have your rental contract. You have photocopies of the ownership and insurance and all that stuff are in the bag, in the glove box. And if you don't give them that when you pulled over, you're going to get tickets for not surrendering your license, ownership, and insurance because that's what's going to be demanded of you. The rental agreement, because it's a rental car, is what's next. So let's see here. Oh, just because I think it's a great question, we'll go with this one too. Jess wants to know, what are your thoughts on dogs in the car? I've seen so many dogs and owners laughs while driving. The answer is, I love dogs, And the safest place for them is either in the back seat, tethered to a seatbelt system with a restraint, or in a carrier, in a crate in the back seat that's secured. That's the deal. You want to be doing that to protect them and you. In the event of a collision, they would become projectiles otherwise, and that could harm you and, of course, Fluffy. On the lap, careless driving while crowded, there are charges that I'd be laying if I saw them. Let's see here. Oh, I did not answer this question today. So Dave Lemon, don't apologize. It's a good question. Is a digital copy of insurance accepted? Yes, in Ontario, the laws have changed recently, and we do actually accept digital copies. However, it's not a photocopy. Sorry, it's not a photo of it. It is a version provided through a secure digital app authorized by your insurance provider. My company doesn't have that, thus I am stuck with pink slips. But if you have an app from your insurance provider that can securely deliver that information, and also be able to send it to police. One thing to note is if your phone is dead and you cannot provide insurance, you are going to get a ticket. Paper is good. Paper doesn't require batteries, just saying. Okay, Chase is making us all jealous because apparently he's watching from beautiful Banff. 2-hour difference is enough to... I can imagine. What are you doing out there? I want to know what's going on. What brought you to Banff? Okay, let's see here. Matt says, so can a diabetic be charged for impaired driving if their sugar drops? It's not impaired because impaired operation is specific to alcohol or drugs, so it's not the same. It could be careless. There could be charges related to it. Are you impaired? You are effectively impaired. They're definitely. It's generally a medical situation as opposed to a intentional. I drove while under the influence of alcohol. Different category. Okay, let's wind this down. I'm thinking of a career change where I estimate crowd sizes at different outdoor events. I wonder how many people are in that field. That's actually not bad. I'm thinking of a career change where I think that's not bad. I'll give it the hi-hat and snare and hi-hat. Okay. Earlier, I had Akela Draconis' quote of the day, which I've not read and I hope is good. Quote of the day: I don't care to belong to a club that accepts people like me as members. Groucho Marx. And oddly enough, I knew that was that quote because it's a good quote. You have any good quotes? You have any good dad jokes? You can share those at a later date. Yeah, I like dad jokes. All right. This is strange. Sergeant Campbell did not come through the door and join us today. I feel like we have missed out on goodness today. But we'll be back Monday. So have a wonderful weekend. We will be reaching out tomorrow. I don't think live, but we'll see you soon.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed, and watch your driving. Don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get freed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
I was just saying in the again let's see here 1 second. It's quiet. Why is it quiet? Let's have a look. What channel is this? Oh, that's why. Because I turned the volume down. Anyway, we'll make the music louder next time. My apologies. See? Okay, that's too loud. Let's see here. Lots of people asking questions on the chat. So apparently the chat stopped bringing stuff over. It happens. It's a new feature. I'm thrilled that it works at all because it's nice to be able to include TikTok folks on screen, to represent you. So music is okay. And then the reminder from Michaela that use the intro from Zombie for Monday's show. I'm actually going to go prepare that right now. Yes, unless someone knocks on the door. No one's knocked on the door. I think I'll be okay. Have a great weekend, everybody. Aside from the fact that I'll be posting a video later on and engaging you in the chat, in the comments, and responding to your messages.